Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another exciting panel at the Start Me Up Hong Kong Startup Impact Summit. My name is Kenneth, and for those who know me, I am particularly excited about this upcoming panel because it is a first. A first time where the LGBTI community is recognized in the startup community in Hong Kong, Asia, and beyond. I'm very grateful today to have four wonderful speakers joining us literally internationally, helping us progress and advance LGBTI equality, rights, and freedoms in Asia. Without further ado, I would like to first ask Corey, if you don't mind, to kindly self-introduce for the audience here.
Sure. Thank you so much. This is an exciting panel to have, especially during this time. So my name is Corey Lathan. I am the CEO of AnthroTronix, which is a biomedical engineering technology firm. We focus on developing digital health technologies, and it's been an exciting time for us as we see telehealth really gaining foot to really provide healthcare for all. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Next up, Katri from Bangkok. How are you doing tonight, Katri?
Very good. Good evening, everybody. And thank you so much, Kenneth and Start Me Up Hong Kong, for reaching out to UNDP to join your event. I'm very, very happy and pleased to be here tonight. My name is Katri Kivioja, and I work at the United Nations Development Program. I'm based in Bangkok, and I manage a program called Being LGBTI in Asia and the Pacific, which is UNDP's flagship program promoting human rights and social inclusion of LGBTI people in the region. And I'm a very strong believer of social justice and an ally of the LGBTI movement myself. So I feel very fortunate that I get to do this as my day job. I'll be very pleased to share tonight a little bit about UNDP's work, but I'm maybe even more pleased and excited about the opportunity that we have had through this collaboration to really shine the spotlight on some amazing LGBTI entrepreneurs and advocates. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Antonio, hailing from the United Kingdom. Hello, Antonio.
Hi, everyone. And you might see 4 different seasons by, in terms of lighting coming through this window, because we literally have 4 seasons today. So, I apologize for the sudden change of lighting that you might have to experience during this call. Antonio here, I'm the CEO of the Thomson Reuters Foundation based in London. We do work in the areas of media freedom, inclusive economies, and human rights. We have a special focus on LGBT rights, and everything that we do is done through journalism training, convening power really, and legal research that can affect policy change globally.
Thank you. Last but not least, from USA, Mr. Josh Slusher. How are you doing today, Josh?
Very well, thank you. And thanks for having me. I really appreciate being invited to this awesome panel of panelists today. So I'm Josh Slusher. I'm the director for Philanthropic Initiatives at the United Nations Foundation, where I focus on really bringing together high-level champions for gender equality who work together to advance to leverage advanced commitments for women and girls amongst leaders in business and government globally. Previously at the UN Foundation, I ran our Global Entrepreneurs Council, which focused on bringing high-level entrepreneurs around the world to support the innovation and entrepreneurship initiatives within the UN's development and humanitarian response work.
Right, and I see you wearing an SDG pin.
Of course.
There you go.
Always on brand.
Always on brand. Thank you. So, let's start with Corey. I mean, again, I am a huge fan, and I thank you for so much that you do in the WEF community. You're one of our biggest, staunch supporters. And, at WEF 49, as you know, the partnership for the Global LGBTI Equality Initiative, it's announced. If you don't mind sharing, what is your passion of supporting, the LGBTI community on such a holistic level. And what advice would you give young LGBTI founders here joining in today to set an example of sustainability and leadership? Thank you, Corey.
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth. So I've been involved with the World Economic Forum since probably about 2005. I was named a tech pioneer, and then in 2006 I was named a young global leader, and then I chaired their council, their Global Futures Council on Robotics and AI. So I've been deeply involved from the technology leadership perspective, from the business leadership perspective. And it really was only a few years ago where my journey as an LGBTI ally really shifted. Up to that point, it had been more of a, you know, in my local sphere as an employee, as an employer, certainly supporting my employees, as, you know, having family members. And then I think the shift for me was when I have two teenage girls, both affiliate LGBTI. And when I was in Davos about 4 years ago, some of my colleagues there were really interested in that story. And I think up to that point, I hadn't realized that my sphere of influence in the World Economic Forum, that I could expand beyond my technology leadership and academic leadership to really show also leadership as an ally and leadership in terms of inclusivity. So that really ended my journey as an ally, and I was able to tell that story in many different ways over the past few years. And I think the feedback that I've received is that was part of a lot of people doing little things to make it an environment where we could have things like the Partnership for Global LGBTI Equality, not just my voice, but many other voices coming together to enable that to happen. And that's been really exciting to see and to be part of that. Well, the advice. So you asked about the advice. I think, advice for allies in particular, I think understanding how you can use your sphere of influence and use what privilege you have, being outside of that community, listening to that community and seeing how you can use your sphere of influence to help, really taking the lead by those in the community to see what they need. I would say for young LGBTI entrepreneurs, you have so much power. You have a voice. I mean, I am so impressed with Generation Gen Z. They're diverse. They're digital collaborators. They understand gender spectrum. I mean, they are amazing. And so they actually have the power to shape the future. And I think being their true selves and really embracing their true identity, again, it's not safe always to do that. So I can say that, again, from a position of privilege. So of course, you want to be safe and you want to surround yourself with people who will help keep you safe. But you do have power. That's what I would say to them, that you are strong, you're resilient, and you shape the future.
Very powerful. Thank you so much, Corey. And frankly, this is why, we are hosting this panel on LGBTI, issues facing the Asian youth population, because we do need a channel for international leaders and speakers to give us real tangible, advice how to become more of who we are. And speaking about, who we are in being LGBTI in Asia, Katri, literally, I believe that is the name of your initiative at UNDP. By the way, for those who don't know, Bangkok is the regional hub of Asia for the UN. How about this, Katri? I mean, so honored for you to be here today. How do you see UNDP continuing to support, governments, companies, and organizations to bring about LGBTI equality, especially in the youth point of view?
Thank you for that question. And as you know, we are now have entered the decade of action where we have realized that we haven't done enough to really reach the 2030 goals for sustainable development. And this call is really for more urgency and more attention and more ambition on why we are not reaching those goals, which is really it's about a shared vision for a more just world, a world that is free of poverty, a world that has lasting peace, and a planet that is saved for future generations. And at the heart of all of this is the call to leave no one behind. But we know that currently we are leaving people behind, and LGBTI people globally and in the region are one of those populations, be it in employment, be it with their families, which is especially important for many young people in an Asian context where families are very, very important, and in their broader communities. At the same time, especially in Asia and the Pacific, there are very, very few protections in place in terms of laws and policies that would help to put a stop to this discrimination. And still 16 countries in Asia and the Pacific actually criminalize same-sex sexual conduct, and only 8 countries provide a legal avenue for transgender people to get their gender identity legally recognized. And I think the current COVID-19 crisis has really put all of these existing inequalities in a very sharp relief, and LGBTI people have been particularly hard hit.
In the meantime, why don't we move on to you first, Antonio, if you don't mind. Antonio, it's hard to imagine, someone saying LGBT equality and people not think about you. I mean, the work that you have done in advancing, equality, either at Thomson Reuters Foundation, even at Bloomberg, recognizing especially the fact that a lot of youth in the world are growing up in countries where just being who they are, being LGBTQ itself is illegal, or if, also facing severe discrimination. Given your life journey, like what advice, professionally or personally, would you give these young founders so they can, benefit from not thinking twice and actually create a ripple effect of social good creation? Thank you so much, Antonio.
No, thank you for having me. I guess my advice to young founders would be to find the social value or the purpose, if you like, of what you do. And this value is often right under your nose, but you can't see it. For example, as the corporate foundation of a global news and information service, we really leverage this unique blend, which is media and legal services combined to drive systemic change. Now, other corporate foundations, for example, write checks to charities, which is another approach which I respect, but we don't do that. And the reason why we don't is because we want to invest leveraging our own skills into services that leverage our skills for matters and products that are free to access. And I'll give you an example. When I took over as CEO of the foundation, I could see very clearly that there was a gap in the market for a digital platform offering fair, accurate, and balanced news reporting, really reflecting the issues affecting the LGBT community around the world. And so I created Openly, which is a new site powered by our original reporting that covers underreported LGBT plus stories from all around the world. And you can find it, by the way, at openlynews.com. And in the short time since we launched Openly, we really had tremendous impact. I mean, definitely beyond our initial expectations. So in March 2019, for example, we were the first outlet to break the news that Brunei was planning to introduce death by stoning for gay sex. And now our story was, because this is distributed through the Reuters newswire, so we're talking literally about 1 billion readers a day, and every newsroom that's worth a name in the world, our story was picked up and published in a long list of national and international publications around the world. And it triggered a huge international backlash, which then translated into a global boycott for Brunei-owned assets. And guess what? The law was shelved. We were also first in breaking the news that Uganda was going to reintroduce a bill that would impose death penalty for gay sex. And as a result of that story, as a result of that coverage, all major aid donors to the country expressed outrage. And guess what? The government announced that the bill was off the table. We also run the world's largest pro bono legal network. It's called Trust Law, and we facilitate free legal support for research and NGOs and social enterprises in about 175 countries. And this includes a lot of LGBT plus organizations. And just to give you a sense here, and this idea that you really want to look at your purpose, we put about £1 million a year into this network, but we facilitate and leverage about £30 million of free legal assistance. So it's very much a leverage effect. And some of our legal work, for example, has developed legal research that then led to a total ban in conversion therapy on minors in Illinois, in the States. We released a number of legal analysis of anti-LGBT propaganda laws in 9 EU countries. We explored reporting different laws on gender recognition with a focus on the rights of youth in Europe. My background, I grew up in Sicily in the 80s, and I never dreamt for a second I could be an openly gay executive or to make any difference on this issue, let alone globally, while remaining authentic to myself, my work, but I did it. And so, can you? So my advice is find that purpose, find the right partners, find the right people to create a unique blend of your skills and leverage your own skills to do what you do best. And by the way, I'm happy to be bouncing ideas with anybody. Reach out to me on Twitter and I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much, Antonio. And by the way, Katri, I would like to thank you for $1,000 donation to the Hong Kong HIV Association, because we made a game where if anybody breaks off, we donate $1,000 to the HIV Foundation. So thank you so much for that. But back to you. If you can continue with your original thoughts on being LGBT in Asia, we would much appreciate that.
I'm not quite sure where I cut off. I kept talking and then suddenly everything just went blank. So how far did I get?
I think 65 seconds is my guess, but
so I guess
for the sake of the completion of the video, if you don't mind, just ensuring that you get the entire message across, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so should I just start from the beginning or maybe go into, I think I was talking about the impact of the COVID. Was that already? You
just reached COVID-19. Exactly.
Okay, so maybe I'll
start from there.
My train of thought from there. So I think the current global pandemic with the COVID-19 has really brought to light all of these existing inequalities. And we know that LGBTI people have been particularly hard hit. Actually, for the first time since we started measuring this, the world is set to have a reduction in the standards of health, living conditions, and education in 2020. And so obviously we need to do something, but the UN and UNDP cannot do this alone. So this is where we bring in the Being LGBTI in Asia. That is a program that's very much a partnership platform where we aim to bring together all of the different partners, be they governments, civil society working on other related human rights issues, women's groups, private sector, entrepreneurs, to really start having a dialogue about how we can better make sure that LGBTI people are included in development across the region. And through this program, we have actually been able to reach over 230 government departments, more than 600 civil society organizations, and over 170 private sector organizations to start building these kind of connections and having these very much needed conversations. I think where UNDP can really bring value is in facilitating those connections and in creating this space and making sure that LGBTI people have a seat at the tables where the decisions that have a real impact on their lives are made. And we can also use, I liked what Corey was saying about listening. I think it is very important for us not to be the ones who are talking on behalf of LGBTI people, but really to be the ones that listen, and then we use our platform, we use our privilege to amplify those messages that are coming from the community. and help raise the profile of the issues and help those messages reach the places where they need to go. And we can also provide support to activists and advocates and entrepreneurs. And I wanted to finish with just a few thoughts specifically on working life and LGBT, because we have found through the research that we have done with being LGBTI in Asia that especially in this region, LGBTI people often have to hide who they are, their true selves in working life. And as a result, they report being much less satisfied and much more likely to leave their current place of employment. We did a research study across China, Thailand, and Philippines, and we found that 60% of respondents reported that they had actually seen job advertisement that specifically and explicitly excluded them just because of who they are, their sexual orientation, or their gender identity. And between 10 and 28%, depending on the country, said that they had personally been denied a job, again, purely because of their sexual orientation or gender identity, despite being qualified otherwise. And about 30% had faced harassment of different types in their current place of work, but only about 30% ever reported this harassment, and very few people were actually satisfied with the results of reporting the harassment even when they did. And in another research study that we did, which covered Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand, we found that transgender applicants were about 50% less likely to get called for an interview and 55% less likely to be offered a job than cisgender people were. So it's obvious that we are not including LGBTI people currently in working life. And as a result, we are missing out. They think that we should not be looking at LGBTI people as passive recipients of aid and assistance, but as partners in building this better future that the Sustainable Development Goals are all about.
Thank you. And yes, so much work still needs to be done, and hence so grateful for you to share this amazing journey of yours and your initiatives and some statistics to, let people know the seriousness of the situation. On to you now, Josh. Thank you for your patience. As you mentioned earlier, you've done work in entrepreneurship, and now you're doing global philanthropy work around gender and equality. How about this? Why don't you share a project or initiative, which you really believe, shown the importance of having, the passion and the experience to have an impactful startup? And how would you encourage the next generation of LGBTQ leaders to step up and take action? After all, it is the decade of action. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, happy to. So I think kind of focused on the Global Entrepreneurs Council. We in the council did a lot of work, focused on supporting vulnerable entrepreneurs, particularly women entrepreneurs, refugee entrepreneurs, and others through the work of the council. And I'm a big believer that entrepreneurship gives people the platform to really lift themselves up. They're able to create, new ways of doing things, new businesses. Entrepreneurs are just incredibly good at finding problems and solving them. So, at the UN Foundation, we look at ourselves as being entrepreneurial for and with the UN system. So in a lot of our work, we support these vulnerable populations through different programs that UNDP runs around the world, that UNHCR runs around the world, that WFP and others. So it's something that we believe is really important. In terms of kind of LGBT next generation leaders, I think weaving together some of the comments that Katri and Corey and Antonio have made, I think one of the biggest things is representation matters. It matters a great deal. And, for me personally, I didn't grow up with any easily visible LGBT leaders to look up to. So, I went through an entire, childhood, adolescence, and now into adulthood, and I didn't have that. I didn't see those LGBT entrepreneurs. I came from a family, a long line of many generations of entrepreneurs, but I didn't know any LGBT entrepreneurs. And so I think, while we've seen a lot of progress for LGBT people globally, some backsliding, but largely progress, I don't believe that progress happens naturally. I think progress takes work and effort. And I also don't believe that progress is guaranteed to exist in perpetuity. Progress really needs protectors. And so I think, my advice to next gen LGBT leaders is really to be a protector of progress by being visible. Be visible in your industry, be engaged and visible in your community, and then take it a step further and be a mentor to other young LGBT people who, as you're growing in your careers, I always think that people need to look for opportunities to lift each other up. And particularly that's true for LGBT people globally, and that's true in the United States, and that's true everywhere else. So I think we stand on the shoulders of those who've paved the way before us through big acts and small. And so I think, be an agent of change and be a protector of progress.
Thank you, Josh. So before we wrap this up, I would love to just have one final thought from each and every one of you, because, our goal for Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival is by the end of this year, we actually start a LGBTI advisory board for LGBTI founders all across Asia, so that they have a proper ecosystem to find, mentors, supporters and partners. On that note, and not to put you on the spot, Corey, because you do so much already for all of us, what would be the one thing that you would, if you don't mind, contribute to this alliance that we hope to set up by end of this year?
All right, I do feel put on the spot. I think the first thing, going back to the theme of listening, what would you like me to do? How can I best help you? And I would do whatever I can to help you. I would love to mentor entrepreneurs. I'm not part of the LGBTI community, but I am a strong ally. So I would love to support them and know that they have that support. And if I can do that, or if you have a better idea, I'm very open to doing whatever I can to support your initiative.
Mentorship is definitely needed coming from a serial entrepreneur such as yourself, Corey. Katri, from UNDP or you personally, what would you throw in the hat to help all LGBTI founders?
I'm very excited to hear about this initiative. And I think that the best thing that we can do is invite you to our partnership and hope that we can find many, many ways in which we can collaborate and help forge those connections between this new network and the network that we already have. We have found that one of the most effective people who work in similar fields and have similar backgrounds talk to one another across borders, and I think as a regional platform we'll be very happy to help facilitate those kind of connections.
Thank you, Katri. Antonio. Oh wow! If I have a wish list for you, it would be 5 pages long. But I'm just asking you for one thing tonight in this beautiful panel at Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival. Give it to us.
I guess I'm more than happy to act as a sounding board. I think our model is pretty unique because, as I said, and I tried to give this example with a few, mentioning a few things, it's like we are a corporate foundation. We're also an independent charity. So we kind of have the best of both worlds. And we really work in partnerships and we leverage. We're a really great accelerator of impact. So if I can help anyone who wants to explore that model, happy to act as a sounding board.
Thank you. Again, Josh, I mean, give one. I want to hear something that you would love to give and help the Asian youth community with. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think it's again, like what everyone else said, was mentorship. And I think similarly to Katri, but also a little bit different, provide opportunities for collaboration, not with your same industry or your same field. I think there is value in conversation and learning from other individuals, LGBT and non, who can help you think through and challenge your ideas and challenge the things that you're working on. So any opportunity to really provide that platform for communication and also find mentors in your field, in your industry, particularly those who are LGBT, I think has a lot of value. So I think it's great that you guys are doing this.
Once again, Antonio, Josh, Corey, and Katri, thank you so much for your leadership, and we look forward to having you back next year at the 2021 Start Me Up Hong Kong Festival.